All right. Think we are good to go. Step through all of these. Everything here is working. Glad to see it. Need to make sure everything is working. Not that one. All right. Let's get back to this. This goated piece. Danny, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thanks for joining, man. Back on the Midna grind. Yeah, good morning, good morning. I'm not forgetting about that stuff I need to draw for you. I'm not forgetting about it. It's just where my inspirations are striking. I have to honor where the water wants to flow. Okay? It's sometimes the ground shifts. You know what I mean? It's like we brilliant artists must conserve energy. Yes. We don't need to concern our time pushing water uphill unless it's absolutely necessary, right? Today the water is flowing towards this Midna piece. And because I was so braggadocious about ensuring that the whole thing could be done live on stream, it's slow going, and I gotta put in the time. So today's the day to put in some time, but we can go about 2.5 hours. So we'll make some progress today. But thanks for joining. That said, this will be a little bit of a coloring stream. Sometimes I feel like those are a little boring, but who cares? Gotta do it anyway. And now I'm gonna pull up these little Midna refs. It'll be a 2.5 hour. It'll be, because I gotta pick up my kids. I gotta leave here at 2:45. But yeah, we'll go. Solid. And we'll officially start like the lighting process, because the coloring is almost done on this, like the flat colors, and then we'll get into the lighting. And once the lighting starts, it actually moves pretty darn quickly. Theoretically it does. I've got a few other things in the works too, but they are off stream. Like that pirate girl drawing came out of nowhere. Did really well, actually. And then I did that Fern Gully one. That was less overtly viral or anything like that. That's okay though. We don't need everything to be crazy. Like, I know, like, the goated stuff that I go crazy on has a higher chance of being well-received. But I need to know where the lower stuff, like, what's the lower threshold about stuff? Sometimes stuff pops off and you're like, wow, I didn't expect that to get anything. And so experimenting has to happen. I have to experiment. I will fill in this chain while I debate what else I should be doing. Again, we just take our colors straight from the game art, which is essentially this, the game art. In-game art, just as good as official concept art. Danny, hopefully everything is sounding good. And if it isn't, please let me know. Everything is good. I'm glad to hear it. I listened back to some of my stuff, I guess, from yesterday, and was surprised to agree that it sounded good. Slowly but surely, I might be figuring this stuff out. And I hope you're well. I'm less in the dumps about my life than I was even, God, 4 hours ago. I was very down in the dumps. And then, I got, because the job I was supposed to start today emailed and they're like, yes, can we push it to next week? And like that was the only thing that I had prospectively with like my career stuff, you know, it's like the stuff I actually do for work is it's in a lull across all of entertainment. And so it's not just me. Everybody with too much time on their hands and not enough to keep themselves busy. And yeah, they put like, imagine they're like, yeah, you don't get to earn any money next week. Next week, maybe you get to earn money. And it's only like a 2-day job or whatever. You know, it's like, damn. And my other buddy, I think I talked about this a little bit. Maybe it was on stream, maybe it was off, or maybe it was in like a morning stream. But last week was totally dead, and I kept myself busy by helping my buddy build his bar. And that was very cool because it kept me busy. It kept me like feeling like I was productive and useful, because I didn't feel productive and useful in my art career at all. And today he was like, yo, if you're available today, I'll like hire you to help me out on this one job site. You know, because he works in construction and carpentry and stuff like that. You know, he does like mini remodels. Builds things for people and stuff. And I was like, it was short notice, so it really wasn't going to work out anyway. But like by this time I had heard that my job got pushed. And I was like, shit, like, should I do this? Like, I might have to like find other things to do. What if the last job I did is the last job I will ever do, kind of a thing. It's all, yeah, we don't like depressed. Nobody likes depressed Max. Especially not my wife. But she's very supportive about, you know, doing healthy things and stuff like that. Anyway, she was like, oh, if you have the day off, just like go see a movie or something, you know? Can you imagine her being so non-judgmental as to say, it was like, yeah, just enjoy your time off, kind of a thing. But for me, it's not just that. It's like an ego thing, you know? It's like, what am I supposed to do if I can't do what I'm best at? And stuff like that. Maybe I should be, like, working on a construction job site, if that's the opportunity. Like, maybe that's it. And without saying any judgment about whether or not I actually should do that or whatever, I did get, after that, a nice inquiry regarding an upcoming job that might need me for several weeks coming up. Not several, but like, you know, a few weeks. Like it's specifically in the email was like a 3-week booking. And I shouldn't even talk about it because that is like the kiss of death. It's like a jinx, right? It's better, like, I should just forget about it because it'll never happen, right? But the reality is sometimes this stuff does land. It's for a client that actually could and would book me for that duration of time if they wanted to. And I took that to be good news. That I don't need to be too gloom and doom. If the job does land, it'll more or less erase everything that was stupid about the last couple weeks, job-wise. And it's like all is forgiven, you know. My career is goated. I'm you know, I'm in it for the long haul, baby. Anyway, just sort of, that's just a peek into the craziness of my psyche. Never really feeling at ease with what's coming around. It's tough because it used to be that I would be, when clients had a job, they just automatically were like, try to book Max because he's always busy. If we can get him earlier, that's best. And he helps our directors, you know, figure this shit out when they don't even know what they're doing yet. You know, so get him soon and get him early, get him good. And because he's useful on everything. And now budgets are so strapped and the pressure is so high to do things with AI right now. That it just feels like I'm only brought in on stuff that they know they can't handle because they already tried. So it's basically an emergency. That's what it feels like these days. And if I'm only brought in on the emergencies, that means they're like giving me the jobs that are like very difficult. Very, very, very difficult. And like that's like saying like, oh, we've decided not to feed you a well-balanced meal. We're only going to give you the fat, the gristle, and the bone that nobody wants. You can live on that. You can live on that. When we have it, you can live on that. And it's like, no, that's not good. So we'll see. You know, the final analysis is long. Will not be here for quite some time, hopefully. But I'm still in it today, and this is a good opportunity for me to work on this. And everything I can do to advance this stuff is actually probably the right thing to do, because this is where I want to go, right? In this direction. This is the stuff I gotta make sure I'm available for, and use the opportunities when I can. Okay, so that, let's see here. Let's make sure, I think we can go, make sure that these claws have some color to them. I think that makes sense to do. Dang. Danny, I know you are not colorblind like I am. Does this color strike you as green? This color? The one, like, right here, this color? Oh, you're getting ready for work. Okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll see you when I see you. According to my color picker, it says this is green-ish. It's like an olive green. Very dark olive green, and that's a little odd to me. But you know what? It is Link. And Link is like he wears that green tunic, right? That's what's annoying about the Twilight Princess in-game color filtering. It sort of puts this like colored treatment on all the art, and our eyes adjust to it, but objectively it sort of results in color picking that might be a little suboptimal for my process purposes. So I guess we'll learn a little bit whether or not we have a flaw here to deal with in the future, but all right. In other news of what the heck I should do next on this. Oh, promise, Mr. Frodo. Let's see here. If we look here at my very goated sketch, this eyeball here of Midna, we've got the iris much more full, kind of wild looking. And here we've definitely, it's sort of experienced a bit of a flattening. I'm not sure I want that. So we need to bring some of that wildness back into it, at least with the color. Bring it in a little bit. That seems to be helping. Okay, unless I'm bonkers, I think. Oh yeah, we got to get the rings, his earrings colored. Again, we're just sampling from the image here onto Link's layer. Add this blue color, and it's a little. I'm worried it might be a little bit clashy, but it does look okay so far. I need to bring this level of goated intensity from this sketch into the final. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky. Pull that right over so we can compare. Yeah. It looks a little bit like I flattened Midna's face out unintentionally. I think I can bring that back. Ace, what's up, man? I think Danny just ducked out, just FYI, but he's getting ready for work. But thanks for joining. I'm more or less done with the flats coloring on this guy, our lovely Midna piece, and now I'm just to refresh, bringing back this little bit of this just sort of bringing and showing the sketch on top to see what might be amiss. You know, and some of like, obviously, like when you do a sketch like this, basically, which is like pouring the inspiration unfiltered into something, there's a lot of nebulousness, a lot of things being in two places at once. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so, like, of course, when you clean up an image, you sort of like force it to make a decision, and it starts to feel like you make mistakes a little bit, and you lose some of that motion and that charm of the unfinishedness, some of that appeal, some of that aesthetic. So as we move to finishing it, it's going to be a challenge, but an important challenge to try to realign with finding the right balance between clarity and freshness and aliveness, right? The aliveness of the sketch. You know, let's highlight some of these things. Like here, like look how open her mouth is and how wild her eye looks, and how she's clearly turning towards Link, like she's about to whisper in his ear. And then in the cleanup version, you know, the expression is basically the same, but she feels like she's a little more turned towards camera. Her mouth isn't as open. Her eye doesn't look as wild. Still good Midna, you know, but what I was channeling when I drew the sketch, kind of like what comes out in a moment, instantaneously, just like you're blurting out in a heat of passion, is not what you it's hard to capture that magic when you're moving slowly, methodically, with lots of time to consider every move, right? It's less instinctual, more methodical, and some things suffer for it. Okay, let's pop in a quick background. Now, I recall that there is a sort of a kind of goldeny, twilighty, how about that? Kind of background sky to some of the scenes at the end of Twilight Princess. So eventually the lighting will kind of go there. Has me a little bit wondering what could be a good stand-in for now. Let me just fill in this space and see what that does. Okay, that didn't do... Realizing now I need to be a little bit smarter with some of this stuff. Okay. Midna lines. Midna hats are these. Turn these back on. Huh, it's kind of cool. Just messing around with these color layers. I definitely like to, if I can, find some ways of bringing the sketch into the final by having it slightly layered on top in a kind of like low opacity manner. A little bit of a goal there. So there's the... Here's the line art layers. Finally found them. Though it might be a little weird at first, I'm going to go with a very neutral kind of purple sky. Very neutrally purple. As a sort of complement to a lot of the colors that are already on Midna and Link right here. Although it probably should be more like this. This color. Just analyzing the color wheel here. Just looking at like what colors are on Midna, what colors are on Link. And like across the color wheel from all those selected colors, where do we have some options? Because that's usually what's best for the negative space. Okay. And I can't forget to keep doing my iterative saving, so hopefully I can keep that up. Because the recording on the live stream is somewhat important to do for the sake of my defense. But since very little people actually ever accuse me of using AI in the first place, it's sort of stupid to prioritize that over something more important, which is documenting the process for the purpose of a time lapse, which actually tends to get more notice and essentially grow all this stuff in the first place. Okay. OG sketch. Just taking a second to name my layers a bit. Yeah, the time lapse is always on. Time lapse should always be watching. Okay. I think we have all the base colors in where we need them. Let me do a quick flip. All right, that's a little bit of due diligence. When in doubt, flip it out. Yeah, feeling goated. Can make this work. Another quick save. Okay. Let us that's funny. I'm seeing something that needs to get fixed before I do anything else. there's just a complete angle change happening here. Where her eyebrow is, like this. It totally got flattened out. And we need to resurrect that. So let's turn off the color. Here's the line art. None of my line layers are labeled. Take a boring little bit and get those in. Some of these layers are just empty. Nothing more annoying than an empty layer taking up real estate in my brain. Nothing on that. Who knows what the story is with an empty layer, but... Easy way to determine if a layer is empty is to right-click on it and select the layer content. And in Photoshop, it'll actually tell you if that layer is empty. But in my program, it'll at least select it so you can see. So you can see the layer content. So here you could see that this was full. But I knew it was. This one is not, so it's got to be deleted. Ah, look at this. Okay. Almost left out all of our underscoring. Okay. Looks good now. Okay, back to fixing that eyeball. Yeah. Might have overdid it. think there was a, and this happens in my zeal to be accurate to the character. I left too far behind the mandate of this shit has to be cool, you know? Do not sacrifice cool for accuracy, ever. It's the wrong sacrifice. You can do both. You can be cool and accurate. But if you must give up accuracy to be cool, that is the right sacrifice. And if you must give up cool to be accurate, that is the wrong sacrifice. People will forgive you for being inaccurate. They'll forgive you for being wrong. They won't forgive you for wasting their time with something lame. Okay, that's definitely a lot cooler looking. Now, let's bring it back the color, and we'll make sure all the color is matching again. There we go. Feeling better about this one. Clearly lots of work to do, but I'm definitely already more pleased with how I'm seeing that. Actually, this whole little section might have to come down a little bit, just a little. What is this music? Gotta make sure we're cool. Alright. Alright. We're cool. We're cool. It's just Saruman. Cool. Alright. Now we are getting into the very mysterious, the very the greatest Discord group in existence. Yes, yes, yes. All right, here I'm going to do something that I should do more. Here we go. And welcome, Donald. Twilight, thank you, thank you. We are going to... Not that button. Here we go. Into the Twitch. The Twitch chat. Ah, I see it here. Here we go. Twitch chat. Boom. Ah, I see it here. Here we go. There you go. Okay. I know we're all busy people. We don't have room for another Discord in our lives, but the invite is there, and it's the same link as in the corner. I believe that that link still works too. What's the next fan art you're starting, Ace? Donald, let me check the Discord. And I know that you have put in... Ah, yes, these... Okay, see, these are great. So, we all know I like to live dangerously, so I'm just going to bring this up on the main. So we can see here some references that Donald has provided for the kind of like the light and the aesthetic of like that ending sequence. That's kind of where we'll go. We all know I love we all know I love to spam my golden backgrounds with blue light frontal things. Frontal lighting. Maybe we'll mix it up on this one. Maybe we won't. When it stops working, I'll stop using it. How about that? But but yeah, but here's the lesson is that I don't want to put that in just yet, right? It's actually sort of important to have something that feels like it's the unlit version of that sky. And like, what is that? What could that possibly be? And is that even useful? Obviously, an unlit sky, an unlit anything is just black, right? In this case, black won't help us. What I think will work is something that provides a little bit of contrast to the foreground and a little bit of contrast to where the background is going. So if we know, working in reverse, if we know we have a bright golden sky that we need to get to eventually, and we're going to have dark figures in the foreground, then it kind of makes sense to have a very neutral, very middle gray color as the background for now. So that's the logic here. Ace is going to work on Spider-Man with Punisher in the background. Ooh, I like this. Oh, okay. Interpretation for the new movie of Spider-Man. Webbing Punisher's mouth to censor him and saying, go home. Punisher's going to be blurred far away, so he'll get less detail. All right, I like this. I like this fun challenge. Sounds kind of cinematic. I like it. It's topical. I have an intent to draw a piece of Sonic fan art, but I don't know if my docket will be clear enough in time to get to that contest thing. We'll see. Right now, it's looking pretty no. Okay, so we've got our flat colors here. And now we're going to do some things that may be a little bit surprising, which is we're gonna flatten. We're gonna merge and we're gonna flatten a lot of what we're looking at. Because that's kind of how I do things. That's kind of how we do things around here. And it's not how you would do things if you wanted something to have a cell shaded look. For instance, you might want line art as a top layer with, you know, flats as a bottom layer, and then like shading in between, right? Shading and lighting in between. But I do things differently. I flatten everything and then paint on top of that with very selectively and very methodically. What I don't do though is I don't throw away what I already have done. We need to basically group, copy, and then flatten and layer. But we retain these original colors on their own separate layers. We just don't look at them really. Okay. So if I take these layers, these are the color layers. So right here, so if I group them, color layers, I can turn them on and off. So that's the color, right? I can duplicate that, then make the original ones invisible. Okay, so those are the color layers. And these are the line art layers, right? Same deal. I'm going to duplicate them. And then turn off these ones. And so we're going to stack them. So we'll have essentially duplicates of all of the layers that we've been using. Actually, I was just realizing there was a simpler way to do this. Here. Because we've already done this. Alright, so this is... I reversed what we did, and now we're like... I deleted all the extra stuff we just did that we didn't need to do. If we just select the positive space, which we've already done, so now we're selecting positive space here. You can see the little ants marching, right? If we select it and merge those layers, oh, you know what? Let's turn on. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, we have to do it. Oh yeah, there's a certain logic to this I keep forgetting about. Okay. Let's take the original sketch, duplicate it, hide it. This part is a little bit like complex. It's both complex and counterintuitive. That's why I keep messing it up. Okay, these are the color layers. We're going to duplicate and flatten the color layers. So now we have these flat color layers. Right? My program painter has the ability to also use these layers as you can set one of these layer modes to colorize, and it gives it a slight oomph in some of these unintentionally shaded areas. So if we examine here in the fur, there's a little bit more richness to the color, to the areas that were simply darkened before because of the overlay or whatever. They now have more richness. And that's something I've been doing for a while, and I seem to like it. It also probably heats up some of this stuff. Let's see here. Yeah. Kind of gets things a little bit activated. And less dead looking. Let's see if Oh, and you can see how some of that original sketch, those it's almost creating texture. How much can we get away with? Can we get away with, that's probably too much, but maybe like 25%. It isn't so much that it like needs it, but I feel like a little bit of subtle sort of taste of that original sketch really helps me sort of like realign to like what was interesting about the sketch in the first place. What about that made it worth pursuing all the way to the end? Like, it isn't enough to darken too much or like change the colors too much to do it this way. I feel like it gives it a fun revitalization, because the adding flats tends to flatten things. It tends to like make things cartoony. And then this sort of brings a little bit more edge to that. Just need some dirt. Just rub some dirt on it, you know? Like, that's a ton of dirt. That's totally... So this is clean. This is 100% dirt. This is... 50% dirt. That's just a little bit too dark for me. But I think we can get away with 25%. So that's fun. And I'd say it is worth taking the time to at least see. Like, if you have original sketches, as you are cleaning them up, like, maybe see if you can bring some of that in. The, like that, those couple of the great Disney films, I mean, they were great, like, because they're fun and aesthetic, not because they're great, but the, like, Robin Hood, the Disney Robin Hood, with foxes and stuff. It's fun stuff. Like, and they allowed, because they had Xerox technology by then, they didn't have to necessarily do separate inking passes. They were like, well, why don't we just make our animation sketches look goated and Xerox the pencil and transfer that and make that the final animation. You give up some things like cleanliness or whatever. Maybe it doesn't look as premium, but the grit actually helped with some of the storytelling, you know, and gave it an aesthetic it was good for the era. It was more budget friendly for the studio as well during a hard time. Here you can see the pure effect of the colorize filter in action. This is like the effect that it brings, and that's it without the OG sketch. So it definitely brings some color that you don't normally get just from flats. And this colorizing filter is not something I see. It's not a blend mode that Photoshop seems to have. If I save it like this, Photoshop will discard it. And if I bring it into Photoshop after this, it'll actually discard it and call it a coloring layer, or like a color layer. But the effect is different, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work the same way at all. This is why I go out of my way to make things hard, and I flatten everything and paint on top of that. That's in order to not throw away this information that I want, but Photoshop can't tolerate. Because the next step is to bring it into Photoshop and darken all the levels to practically zero. Well, at least down by a third. Okay, Now that we've got this, these are essentially our base colors. We're going to select the positive space, which is everything here. And on top of everything, on top of all this stuff, we're going to merge and paste.
No parent should have to bury their child.
We'll call that base. And the negative space, we'll select it. That's everything that wasn't the positive space. We select it, merge it, and paste it. And so now even in the negative space, we are retaining these, see all these extra little lines, some of this interesting texture of the OG sketch. That's in there too. It's all baked in. And this layer in between, I'm going to make purely black to see if there's any gaps. There's no gaps. So now we are sort of reached a milestone where we have our base. Our base is established. From here, everything is quite methodical. This is not, it really isn't a, we get too lost from this point out. We know pretty much what we're doing as long as we make decisions that are sensible and stick with them, follow through them through to the end, we will have a good result. Let's see here. This is the base neg, and this is black BG. Okay. Cool. All right, this looks good so far. Now that this is established, so like for instance, like if I turn this off, that's the void that's left. If I turn this off, that's the void that's left. So the entire, if I turn them both off, we see nothing. All of our original layers, before we did that merging, they're preserved in the space beyond, okay? The underneath this black background, they can sort of exist untouched, unencumbered. I don't really bother to lock them off, but I could if I wanted to. I could protect them. But I'll know that if I draw on them, but I don't see what's going on, yeah, I'll know that I tried to draw on a layer that was beneath the void, and that's not visible. I can only see what I'm doing on top of it. Okay. So, save. Now we're going to bring this into Photoshop. And now. Okay. And so I do use a good amount of Photoshop, but not really for drawing. I think the brush engine is a little substandard for me, for what I'm used to now. I can't really make use of it. Ooh, Ace, I like your art. I like what you posted. This is looking goated, man. Can I bring it on the stream so we can glaze it? All right, I'm bringing it over. All right, Ace has made this. This came along a lot faster than I was necessarily expecting. I'm glad you didn't go too far with like creating too much water distortion over like her reflection and stuff. You might be able to get away with less. I know you said it's done, so you know what's done is done. But she looks pretty. She's got a fun expression. She's obviously admiring herself. This is interesting with the chains and stuff. All that's pretty cool. It's almost done. Part of me is like wondering if there's anything. I don't think it's like if this was a storyboard, I might take the time. I can tell you've put like a filtering effect to give like the white here a different color than what's going on here. You were going to combine the layers for the reflection and distort it a bit. My advice is to tread carefully because you want her to look pretty, right? But experiment, you know. This I can tell you're doing a lot of things that I haven't seen you do constantly, so it's sort of like you're probably learning a bit on this too. I want to compliment your fish here as well. Also looking goated. Somehow it looks like it's got a lot of fun fish personality. Oop. Anyway, well done, Ace. Thank you for sharing. We'd love to see it. If it's a storyboard, sometimes like it is good that you like had like, okay, here's her body's closer to camera, so we're I did have a thought. Let me think here. So I'm gonna venture to guess because this is the quick read of it. Is that she's got this sort of like seaweedy kind of hair, or like lake grasses or kind of stuff. I love how that's tying into the grass that you have here, for instance. Oh, you missed a little bit of Ace showing off his work, and we're all clapping it up. One thing that is a little bit, I wonder if it could be this simple. If you don't mind me making one suggestion, something is happening with the sort of frequency of the turbulence of the water here. The frequency of the water here, the turbulence of the water here that we're seeing. If that appears to be the same frequency of the turbulence on her hair in the foreground here, and to me they are very close. So I wonder if I could beg, because I think the hair looks good, and I think the frequency of if the frequency of the water could look like it was spread out a little bit, like could it feel like there are either you could scale up the water entirely, or it felt like it was more spread out in between the turbulences so that they weren't happening at the same frequency. Do you kind of is the analogy happening? If I could probably do a sketch. Oh, she's a Kelpie. Okay. I don't know what a Kelpie is, but that sounds cool. If it needs more explanation, I could probably do like a quick sketch. But like the waves in her hair are in the one in the foreground are a little close to the waves happening on the like the frequency of it is happening in two places at once. And I'm worried that might have a flattening effect. So what might be a thing to try is making there be more contrast between that. And I think you could get away with, if it is quickly available on one layer, just adjusting the ripples on the water surface to have more space between them. Because you kind of, like, yes, you do want that information, but you kind of want that to not be noticeable anyway. Take it under consideration. as you move forward with it. But it's looking goated. I really do like the ripple of the waves in the hair. So I wouldn't change anything like that. And here's another thing. Hopefully that's making sense. If you feel like you're a little lost with what I just said, please let me know. Here's a little bit of another thing that my esteemed teacher, former teacher Nathan Fowkes, would talk about a bit. And it isn't necessarily always the case, but in this case, I think it applies. Like, it doesn't necessarily always apply to people looking in reflections or how to make an image look cool, for instance. But if we were trying to do something realistic, for instance, you would generally try to have there be a definite drop in the brightness between the thing that is so the reflection, it always contains less light than the thing being reflected, right? Basically. Sometimes it depends on the angle that you're viewing it, but I think that's the easiest way to look at it. So you could probably stand to go somewhat darker in these white spaces. I'm not trying to make the same kind of comment about her skin tone, and she definitely is darker here in the hair, and I appreciate that, and I don't think that needs to get changed much, if at all. But the brightness happening here of the whiteness on her sleeve, I wonder, maybe save a version. Like, don't mess up your current version, right? Save a different version. Try experimenting with some of this stuff to see if you can get that slightly darker, just slightly darker, so that it isn't feeling like it feels like a different color of white, but it should actually also feel like a slightly darker white. And same, almost the same comment, basically, with the eyes. But I don't want to be too nitpicky about this stuff. I think this is looking goated. Consider it this way. The fish's color for the white, this is a koi, right? It's koi. So because your fish looks so goated, right? Because it does, it looks goated. The fish is clearly reading as orange and white, right? Even though in here we see, like, this is objectively like a bluish kind of color, right? It's a koi, orange and white. It's not orange and blue, but here we see orange and blue. The white color that you have here for your, it's just reading well as orange and white, even though you've got a tint to it and it's not bright white, right? Borrow this color, the whitest part of your the white part of your koi, bring that over and apply it to the brightest part of your kelpie. Does that make sense? Do me a favor and experiment with that. And the brightest part of her sleeve should probably be the same brightness, or the brightest part of her eyeball should probably be the same brightness as the brightest part of her sleeve, and that should be no brighter than the brightest part of the koi. It's okay if it's slightly brighter than the koi because you want it to have more attention. But logically, I hope you sort of follow that, like, if this is white and it looks like that kind of brightness, then if this doesn't sort of follow that same kind of brightness, it sort of feels like it's not, even though this is a reflection, like, she's not underwater, it kind of feels like it needs to have that. What if you give it a shot? I don't know. But it's looking goated. Maybe darken up these cuffs so they're a little easier to read. Because if I squint, they're almost the same. They're almost the same value as, like, the shading on her neck. They're getting a little lost, is what I'd say. Anyway, some room to make changes there if you felt like it. But don't feel obligated. This is looking goated, man. Squinting is the secret technique to all art. It actually kind of is. It kind of is. It's someone wrote a book. I think it's called The Magic Squint. Okay, so you haven't gotten to working on those yet. We love it, but the power of the Magic Squint is so powerful. Someone wrote a book on it and called it The Magic Squint, I believe. The Magic Squint. Right? Or is it book? Yeah, it's a book. No? Maybe not? Squint the book? No? Damn. Thought Magic Squint was a book. Maybe not. Well, it should be, okay? But yes, squinting is the key. Alright. We all appreciate the preview of the goated art. Thank you very much, Ace. Thank you for sharing. It's looking goated. It's on its way to goatedness. Alright, so here's a quick way that I use if in Photoshop, when I darken my images, I go to Image, Adjustments, Levels. And you can do all sorts of stuff with these level sliders. Adjusting for exposure. But I use it to drop the light in the scene all the way down as far. I used to do it even darker than this, but this is plenty dark. This is at 90 right now. It's sort of an arbitrary number, but I think this is a good one. The darker you start, the more room to add light you give yourself later on. So this is that. Because I know I do all of this with like a certain amount of processedness. Might as well just... Oop. Oh yeah, I forgot. Okay, so that's the base. We need to make a new layer. It's just basically duplicating the layer, but we're going to call it treated, because it's what we've done was we've treated the layer. Think of it as washing a coat of black over it. It's literally what the effect is. So we're washing a coat of black over the sketch, and Ace did cook. Yes, he did. Leonardo da Vinci talked about this in one of his painting books, which I haven't read, but I won't pretend I've read it. But he would apply, according to his book at least, he would apply a layer of a translucent layer of black to his painting sketches. Like before he really started painting, he would work with a canvas that was dark. And not just dark, like everybody tones their canvas, like that's like a normal thing to do, like, oh, it's dark brown or whatever, it's dark. Like it's normal to start with like a tanned dark canvas, right? So you have something to play with in terms of creating contrast. Da Vinci just went like kind of just dark, like not trying to be brown, not trying to be cool, but just black basically. He was like me, See, me and Da Vinci are the same way in this regard, where we where we think about light. I didn't always think about it this way, but now when I do coloring, I just think about it as lighting. And the lighting is what the lighting is what happens when you light something. And then if you don't light it, it's just going to stay dark. So you should start with everything dark, because everything is dark that the light does not touch. Sort of very, very brilliant yet obvious thing to say, of course, but that's why I said it, right? So, but we've seen the time lapses that I do, and we know that this is the process: is get the goated sketch, get the flats in there, and then darken the fuck out of it, so that into that we can paint in the light. We don't have to, therefore, do any shading. The light takes care of itself. The lighting lights it, and the shading takes care of itself, right? Okay, so we've done that here. We're gonna apply it in batches because I like to do that for my time lapses. I've noticed that using big jumps in like brightness and darkness makes for a messy looking time lapse. So even though it's not necessary to do this for the process, like making the finished art, it is sort of helpful to make it easier on people's eyes. You have to sort of like cut up the steak, you know, for the people to eat. You have to like cut the pancakes for the kids, right? If you don't like take the steps to like make it palatable and presentable, then people are going to pass on the good nutrition and go straight for the junk food. And then they're going to grow up and fuck up their lives and blame you for being a bad parent. So you have to, therefore, cut up the vegetables, and you have to smother the vegetables in cheese, and you have to blend the broccoli in with the tomato sauce of the spaghetti. All right, so that they don't know they're getting goated nutrition in their yummy pasta, right? I need to make more of an effort to slip some good nutrition into my kids. Pretty much living on French fries. This is me realizing I need to follow my own advice. Okay. All right. So the negative space also gets treated. Quick save. Yes, indeed. Always must quick save. Luckily, I've been doing a decent job of saving the entire time. But thank you, Danny, for the reminder. Everybody who's working at home, quickly save your work. And we're putting these effects in layered at a certain staggered frequency so that they sort of animate separately. Oh, you got the day off? Congrats, bro. I hope it's going well at work. My brother is, he's a career man now. Here I am, Here I am lollygagging in between jobs. Okay, so here we have the darkened piece, right? In this, some things that we can do. So what we can't do with this sort of layer is like if I tried to click like into the, oh, go away. If I click around into this hair, trying to select the hair, for instance, it's impossible. It's like it's all flattened and stuff. But I've got Link's flats on a whole separate layer, and I can just go in and get all that good stuff now. So even though I've dirtied it up and I've treated it so that it's a very dark color on the surface, the pure version is still very much visible all the way back here. Reverse that. Okay. Cool. All right, and we have a full hour to start some coloring. I'm very excited to be at this stage in the process. My brother says, it's all right, some interesting schedule changes. Shift for the next while is 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. If you're the weekend I work, but I also get middle of the week random days off. Those are useful. You can do bank runs. You can do daytime things. Yeah, that's not bad. And it doesn't sound too bad. It's probably not perfect for some things for sure, but for instance, with that kind of schedule, kind of feels like you've got the traffic gods a little bit helpful for you, right? Having half the day open as well is kind of cool. Yeah. You kind of have like server hours. Yeah. What traffic? Your commute is 7 minutes. Oh yeah, because the place is nearby the house, right? Good shit. It's around the corner from Exposed. All right, listen. I actually don't know what that is. Why don't you explain what Exposed is? That's you know, we're not all from Chatsworth, you know. Not that you are. Whoops. We're from Chatsworth. It's a very notorious place. Good. I'm glad you don't feel unsafe. You could always start packing. Chatsworth is like that. I don't think anybody would raise an eyebrow to that. All right. Let's quit out of here. All right. Back to home base. Back to Corel Painter. My ancient program will probably never get updated again. Okay. right, into this, we get all of our coloring stuff introduced. So this is interesting. So one quick thing we should think about is what makes sense to color first. Time for the lighting. Yeah, it is. It is. And it's a slow, methodical process. There's a lot going on in this piece too. We'll probably make some F-ups, but for the most part, I don't stress about it too much. We have some interesting options. I wonder if I could poll the audience a little bit and see it might be cool to have... Ultimately, our colors might go this way. I'll just do a quick... All right, kids, don't do this at home. I don't sanction coloring and lighting this way. But we're going to do a little bit of quick coloring and lighting kind of treatment. Oop. How does this work? With a color dodge layer, we can essentially add some quick lighting effects. That might give us a little bit of a... Shit, I already like... Damn it, I like how this looks now, and I don't want to have to do all the hard work. That's why stuff like this is not what I recommend, is it's a cheat, and it feels like a cheat, and you don't learn anything. But right now, this is just a color dodge layer with a sort of yellowy orange tint to it that's going straight on top of our flat image, our flat dark image, getting brightened up. Just in the negative space, adding some of this orangey-ish effect. Now into that, I'm going to erase a little bit because we need transitions, okay? Got the big eraser kicking on. Oh my god, it's going to crap out of me. Okay, it didn't. So I'm erasing into what I just added with color to get a little bit of transition happening there. This is kind of a cool effect, right? So this is feeling like a low-lying sunset. We're not in the habit of going to strip clubs, Ham. The I mean, we could take you to a strip club. I can see if Julie wants to go. Julie would probably get up on the pole and, oh shit, I shouldn't be saying my wife's name. Oh well. What you don't want to do is you never want to take, let's see here. Don't take a girl to a strip club on her birthday, because when they find out it's her birthday, they're gonna make the girl get up on the on the stage with all the other girls, and then they'll give her a lap dance, and then they'll try to take off your clothes. Is what's gonna happen. So if you don't want to take off your clothes, never get on the strip club stage. That's what you don't want to do. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I just doxed everybody. Who cares? We all. It doesn't matter. He regretted it instantly. Yeah. Family outing to the strip club. No, you got to do it. See, I could go and call it research, okay, from all my naked lady drawings. Could you go to a strip club and just draw? Hold on. Is this a goated thing? Go to a strip club as like a art school lesson, right? Yeah. Is it possible? Could we do this? You know? I've never had this idea. Why wouldn't they let you if you were like paying? You know? They're not going to let you just go, right? But you can go and you can... All right, here's the problem, is strip clubs are notoriously dark. From what I recall. You know, they've got lights moving everywhere. That's not good for pen and paper. You could, however, bring in a tablet. I don't know. If I worked at a strip club, I would probably try to draw every once in a while. I did a project about this? Did I? Yeah. Anyway. So that's the art. So here's some of the lighting effect that might occur there. And now if we applied a little bit of blue ambient lighting to help offset that. Like this. Yeah, this is the problem. This already looks good, but it looks good because it's a cheat. Here's where the lighting falls apart, is with these, is when you're using it to tackle the lighting against the certain colors. It doesn't neutralize it enough. So like, this color should be much grayer, for instance. If I'm adding this much blue light to it, we're adding like a fairly bright blue amount of light to this hair. And it should go gray, basically. And it's not doing that. It's still very, very warm. So. Is this Avatar music? Oh, it is. Avatar's Love, yeah. I'm not trying to get it all mixed up. Yeah, here we go. I mean, I love Avatar music too, but it's supposed to be Lord of the Ringsy. It is Game Chops, yeah. Shout out to Game Chops for never DMCAing my streams. So this just gives us a hint of what blue ambient light from the top / front looks like, juxtaposed against a warm kind of side deal. I wasn't sure if they were created for streamers, but I know that since like the melodies are based on copyright material, that they don't really have perfect like clean hands if they wanted to like they might be able to make money off of the music, but it won't but it would still be, I think, possible for Nintendo to be like, nope, take it down. You know, if they had an objection to it. Or in this case, New Line Cinema or whatever, whoever the hell did the music. So this is kind of giving us a sense. Now, part of me feels like we could get away with a third light source, which is a kind of... There's already so much red in the background a little bit from the... Can we go... Maybe a purple? Green? Can we think of any reason why there would be a green glowing underlight in this scene? Just picking from the options of colors that could or should work. Twilight portal on the ground. Yeah. Platform in Twilight Temple. Are they greenish in color? Yeah? Well, that's it. That's why we're doing it. So you think art is all about, oh, he knows what he's doing or whatever, but the honest truth is like, I don't know, make it this color. Obviously, like the concept of you just like the green as a contrast, but it works thematically, correct. But that's not only true, like just coincidentally in this case. If you look for it, you will always see it actually happening in all sorts of things. And now, I guess, like, you know, I was so high when I played Twilight Princess, I don't even remember it. But magic is always either purple or green. And even those two colors complement each other, right? So, so it made sense to go with either of those. So what this will feel like is Midna sort of like guiding Link to where he needs to go into like a portal, right? Right? Little bit of Whoa, what is this? What did I just do? Huh. Cool. What are those? Twilight, if you're, can you come up with like a reference for the portal? Like what the portal might be? Like if it has a distinctive shape, then it's something. The kind of blocky looking clouds with green swirls way ahead of you on the Discord. Okay, thank you. Bye, Ace. Enjoy the dentist. Reminding me I need to go to the fucking dentist. Oop. All right, where's the Discord? Discord. So this is good. It definitely has the it's going to give us something clear to work with. I'm just going to freehand it, but we can see the reference. That's going to give us the light we need. We'll sort of like these weird little shapes or whatever. You know, it'll be reflecting in their eyes. So that's cool. Thank you, Twilight. Thank you. Looking at the other image is the blocky cloud thing. Okay. I think this works. It definitely is like, and so like this is a cool roadmap. Also, I've been wanting a chance to use like a green light. I haven't used that in a long time. And I'm wary of being too spammy with the blue and orange contrast. So getting like the we can go, it'll be more of a yellow. It can be blue, orange, and green. That works. Yeah. Just look just like this, basically. But properly rendered. I'm going to erase a little bit more of this stuff at the top. I want the focus to be here at the bottom. But we're like, essentially... If we look at this image and we're honest about it, our eyes are really drawn to what's happening here. And we need that to not happen. So there's ways to control for that with edges and stuff like that. We can give it less color contrast. We can give these areas more color contrast, and they will. But in the case of what's happening right now, I think if I just do a big ol' eraser, low opacity. There we go. This is sort of getting it. Feeling right. A little less over here. You know? it frankly doesn't look that bad, just even as it is right now. And we can play with some of these blend modes to see what other effects we can mess around with. Usually just color dodge is what works best. Look how bright and shiny that is. If we erase around the edges of this, leaving what's here. Even just like this is basically in the realm of like what you, the techniques were essentially where I'm like painting on a layer with color dodge, and having that be a stand-in for the light. I think that's about as advanced as like a lot of coloring techniques that a lot of other fan artist sort of teachers are sort of getting into this space. They'll use layer blend modes to approximate the effect of color building up, and I'll be charitable. There's sort of like squinting and looking past the fact that it changes the color in ways that is not how light works, as far as I can tell. Now, this is coming from me, the ultimate in colorblind fools. And we should do one of those color blindness tests. That's not a bad not a bad thing to do. They don't take too long either. It could be good content. I did one 1,000 years ago. It was like 3 years ago, practically at this point, on the stream, and I don't believe. I think it was really bad. And Boxer, you were there for it too, if I recall. Let's see here. I kind of need it. You're not good at those. No, I remember, if I recall, I scored lower than you did. All right. So here, we're going to do this. This isn't because like, so this is because the last time I did this was 1,000 years ago, and the audio sucked probably, and everything sucked. And I wasn't even that good at what I was doing. So we're going to try this again real quick. So here's the first one. Colorblind test. We're going to take the test. I recall this being pretty quick. Okay, I see the color 8. And here we go, 6. Now, I'm not going to look at chat. You can type what you see if you want to follow along. Oh, shit. Oh, yeah, it was a 2. Yeah. Okay, this one's a little harder for me. I see a 4. That looks like a 2. Oh my god. That it could have been a 1. An S? Okay, that's a 4. It's hard for me to see, but I see a 6 here. Okay, here I see a 5. 3. Okay, here I see a 7. Okay, I think this is a 9. Oh my god. Nope. Eight? That's a 2. Is that a 2? Three? Six? Okay, that's a 4. That's a 6. 7. It's a 5. God. 9? Oh my god. These aren't numbers. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Do you guys see something here? I don't know. I couldn't guess. That's a 4. That's an 8. Are you shitting me? 6? I don't see anything here at all. Maybe a 3? Okay, continue to test result. Let's see it. You are a strong protan. This type of red-green color blindness has the red cones in the eye detect too much green light and not enough red light. Interesting. And then they try to sell you a bunch of shit. Alright, maybe another time we'll take a different test. Because the last time I thought I took this test, it gave me like a percentage. Let's see here. That's all gray, gray. We suck, bro. So, anyway. So the struggle is real for old Maxie on some of this stuff. I apparently see too much green light. No, too much red light and not enough green. Or something. But I feel normal, okay? I feel normal. I don't know if that was great content, but just for the edification of those at home, that I do struggle with this stuff a good deal. But one reason that I use my art technique, the lighting technique that I use is hue agnostic. Now, I don't think I'm quite ready to make a spectacle of doing this yet, but theoretically, I could use the technique that I'm using without knowing, with just the RGB sliders, but even with a gray filter over the entire image, just doing it with the sliders and math, essentially. Not even math, just geometry. Hue agnostic, I know that guy. Yeah, well, this will work even if I don't know the color that it is that I'm using. Amazing short where you tell people color blindness doesn't keep you from making incredible art, nor should it keep the viewer. It doesn't. Well, it we'll carve that clip out on another occasion. It certainly doesn't keep me from doing it, right? If anything, it probably makes you better by realizing and not taking for granted how colors are perceived, being different than than what I am experiencing definitely gives me a lot of pause when I am not using this method. But what we'll notice is that moving forward, I give very little thought to like, oh, well, so let's take a look here. We're gonna bottle up all these little layers we just did into our own little test group. Okay. So these are the colors that we have, and like there is some color in what's going on here, but it's too dark. Like the information here, I wouldn't necessarily be able to tell you if this was a brown or a gray dark color or green, brown, gray. I remember from earlier in the stream that it was sort of like an olive greeny kind of brown. But it doesn't really matter. The fact that I don't know what the color is doesn't change the way that the light is going to hit it in a certain proportion, make it a certain amount brighter, and a certain amount of more of what that color is that's in the light. And at least that's what my process does. The process that I use, that I didn't invent, but I've reverse engineered it so much that it practically is just me now. But more poppy colors. Possibly resulting in more poppy colors. I think I am more sensitive to just general light and dark. That is maybe just something that I have than your average person, maybe. That helps me with shading and stuff like that, and seeing like lighting and stuff. Not perceiving color perfectly is something that, as I've grown to sort of understand how other artists pick colors, some of this stuff just ends up being arbitrary anyway. You go by feel, and I feel confident enough that I have the tools to make something that is colorful, that people like, respond to well. And I even get compliments on my color. I even do. So, but what they're actually responding to probably is just the lighting, and I'm okay with that. Okay. So, and these early stages of coloring, we have about half an hour before I gotta bail. But let's get it started with some early stages of coloring. And the first color that we do is sort of painting with a broad airbrush, giving everything a kiss of the ambient light, essentially. So the light that is going to be everywhere in the scene. And you would think that it would be like, oh, the background is this big, bright, glowy orange thing, right? Yes, but that's the most dominant light. And it's also from the back. So we're not really messing with that yet. My process wants to expose first for the light that's in the shadows, actually. Making sure we can see the light in the shadows. In some parts of the drawing, there is no light at all. We just leave that dark. But the lowest source of light that is sort of everywhere that we have to account for is the sort of the twilighty blue, purpley blue that's going to be, and we're just going to make it blue. But it's going to be ever present, except in the darkest recesses. And so its effect will be felt pretty much everywhere. But because we have this worm's eye view, we're actually going to see it coming more from like the ambient overhead, like the top. So like the underside of his belly, like here, and the underside of his snoot, his boopy snoot right here, that's really not going to get that much blue light. But the top of his mane here is going to get a lot of that ambient blue light. And that's where we'll start, where it will have the greatest effect. So we've got our fun flat colors already here. We use this to make selections. Selecting into that, get all these great colors already picked out for us. And we're ready to go. We're ready to start applying that blue light. Ooh, even here on the tail. Oh, that one's hard to get. Oh well. Okay, so how do we... Let's make a new layer. We'll call it... Lately I've just been calling this layer the blue kiss. It's like a kiss of light. You know? We're not lathering on paint. And it's not aggressive. It's just sort of like a cloud. As if like a spray can held as far away from it as you could possibly hold it while still getting some of that effect. Right? We're going to bust out the trusty air pencil. And the air pencil is a regular pencil, which generally has a soft edge, but it's got no grain to it. It's at 10% opacity, and it's just a pencil that I made as big as I possibly could. Because for some reason the air pencil can scale up to a size higher than the airbrush in this program. So, funny but true. The air pencil. So, we go in. So, this dark color, whatever it is, I don't know what it is. It's brown, it's green, it's gray, it's whatever. We select for the color, and then we see these sliders, these little funky sliders. And I wish I could make these bigger. We're going to look in on these. We're doing a little screen zoom. We can get in here and see RGB. The relationship between these colors actually tells us what color it is. They're almost perfectly aligned. From a distance, you would be thinking that they're all in the same spot. They're not. There's a little less blue, a little more red, and a little more green than red. That is basically tells us that this is a slightly yellowy, dark brown. That's what this means. Not looking over here to where this big color wheel and the triangle is and stuff like that. We don't need to necessarily see that. We can tell, if we know what we're doing, all we have to do is look at the slides, the slider numbers, and even these numbers, but just their position. This actually becomes more like geometry. So like a triangle of... See how this is like a triangle? These two dots. You guys, I know you guys can't see this, but we'll just zoom in anyway. The triangle of some red... Fuck. Damn it. The triangle of some red, some blue, but more green means it's green. The triangle of more red and blue, but less green makes this purple. And turns out, yep, it's purple. See? Or magenta-ish, you know? You can think of it as numbers, but I like to look at the position and placement of the sliders and think of it that way. It becomes more intuitive about distances between... Distances and relationships is really where this starts to become intuitive. For me, at least. The distances do correspond to the math. You know, there are numbers over here. See these numbers? But the exact number doesn't matter if the, like, you won't, like, if this was a 63 instead of a 62, your eyes wouldn't really notice that difference. If you can make this more about feeling and memorizing the feel, becoming intuitive at a glance, looking and seeing the relationship between these three dots, essentially, you can understand the relationship between any color that your computer can make and why it makes that, and how you can add or subtract light to that color in different amounts or distances or relationships to make it look different. This is the method. Is the light is the shape of these three sliders. That's all it is. Okay. The rest of this is more educational when done in demonstration. We'll give our best shot here. And this takes time. It develops like a bolognese, okay? Or like a pho, okay? We don't microwave this meal. It takes time, and the difference is in the build-up, the slow layering, the feeling and understanding the process, understanding that there's a reason why film, right, cinematographers and photographers have huge amounts of lighting equipment and powerful generators that rig up this stuff to make it impact the way they want it to. The decision making that goes into that stuff is not accidental. It's not just sort of like, oh, that light looks cool. Your phones and your cameras do it automatically via the kind of the software in it feels like it knows generally what colors work in a good photograph, and reverse engineers what you're taking a picture of to get that as close as it can without having to impose on you much of the job of a cinematographer or a professional photographer. But your camera actually doesn't do that great of a job compared to what a cinematographer or a photographer can do. And it's hard for me to explain why, but it's making decisions that you don't necessarily want it to make. Basically, it's trying to show you too much. It's going to see, oh, I've got this one cool light, and we've got this other cool light, and I don't have the knowledge of what this person exactly wants to expose for, necessarily. So I'm going to do my best to sort of smush them all into one thing. And the result is often good. But depending on what you're taking a picture of, like, we've all done this. We've tried to take a picture of a beautiful sunset, you know, and we've got our amazing camera, yes? This amazing camera. You go to take the picture of this beautiful sunset, and why is it so disappointing? The final result leaves the sun looking uncolorful. The clouds are, where's the pinks and the purples and the depth of the oranges? Somehow the camera made all the wrong decisions, where everything else that we take a picture of, it seems to know what we're doing and what we're wanting and made us feel like a brilliant photographer, but not when we're actually taking pictures of light somehow. Somehow the light seems to elude, or the complex situations of light seem to elude the cameras, and they elude also the quick fixes that we have in art and rendering, and a lot of that is because it tries to shortcut to making too many things bright that it shouldn't, and doesn't know how to make the right sacrifice ultimately. We have to start by making the right sacrifice. All right. And here the right sacrifice is we don't rush things. We build them up slowly. We want to see the cool things that are happening in the shadows. And then on top of that, we layer on a little bit more light, little bit more light, little bit more light until we get the perfect mix of all the light working in harmony. And that's it. That's the process. All right. Okay, so clicking into here, we're just going to color select. That's the relationship, all those colors. How do we add blue light to that? In a very small increment. And I come up with sort of nicknames for these increments of light that are sort of nonsensical. So like the smallest smallest measurement I have is a nuck, and like I don't know what that means, but it's like sort of short for a knuckle, and that's shorter than a nickel somehow. And a nickel is like feels like it's 1/5 of like the whole slider. So a nuck is like a fifth of a fifth, right? So it's like 1/25th, right? That makes sense. I'm not sure if math works that way, but it feels like it's a fifth of the entire slider, right? Which is about, it feels like it's about here. You add a nuck to each slider to make it evenly brighter, right? And then just another nuck of the blue, just the blue, gives you a brighter, bluer version of the same color that you just selected. And that's what it is. So that's that. That was applied a little haphazardly. Let me just... There you go. Feeling like we've got some of that kiss of blue light coming and hitting there. And we're going to apply it pretty much everywhere. Now, because this light is ambient, we really do just kind of apply it everywhere. I don't need to get too precious about, oh, well, is it really getting in the corner of his eye, like right there and stuff like that? Probably not, but some light probably is. Danny, I took away the lighting because now we're starting the actual lighting. This was all the faux lighting. Despite it all, this is the fake lighting. Even if it looks good, and it does look good. But that's like the cheater shortcut version of lighting, and that's not what I do. Okay, so we take that away. Now we're doing the long version of the lighting. Takes a long time. And we don't rush it. And we know if an area is like well exposed to the light, yeah, it should get some more. And then if an area is not well exposed to the light, definitely don't overexpose it. But mostly I'm trying to apply blue lighting almost everywhere in this piece. So think about it like giving it like a tint, right? Don't forget the kids. The kids are due. I'm going to leave in 15 minutes to get the kids. I had to be educational for a bit. I'm doing my spiel now so that like later on, and maybe it's okay if as long as I record it in real time, maybe I don't have to stream it. I don't know. So I've already streamed 3 hours today, and I'd like to keep working on this. But I have to be, I definitely have to make sure I get it. Oh, look at this. Ah, I forgot to get it right here in this middle of his forehead. Gotta make sure I get all that stuff in there. Oop. There. About right. When I look up here, I'm looking at the thumbnail of the OBS. But thank you for reminding me to get the kiddos. Do another quick save. The more I do these process vids and stuff like this, the more it just makes sense to just keep saving constantly. Just keep saving. All right. Next, we'll get all of the sections that are this color on Link. We've already done all that selecting by doing the coloring. Those flat colors were not in vain. They are an ally at this stage of the process. The color of this white part of his fur with blue light added is an entirely different color than the color we just used, logically. So we have to resample, readjust, and make a separate painting pass. We'll do... When we sample from the brightest version of the color. His snoot here is fairly clean. So remember the distance, the shape of the distance is a nuck, which is basically a fifth of the entire slider on each of the channels, red, green, and blue, plus another nuck on the green. That makes it brighter and bluer. Then, same deal. Same tool, same layer, same giantness. This is an airbrush we're making, or it's an air pencil. We're getting as big as we can. Everywhere the light touches, which is pretty much everywhere. We're talking ambient light. It's okay if the light gets pretty much everywhere. In fact, it's the best place for this to start. Do you see how it felt? Like the light that we just added felt like it matched up like a puzzle piece with the light that we added. So the light we added to the brown, to the darker brown of his fur, when we first added it, it felt out of place. Now that we've matched the other puzzle piece of this light, the ambient blue added to his fur suddenly feels like it's in the same light space. So this is with no light added, and this is with a little kiss of ambient blue light added to his fur. Now his fur is coming in a few different flavors of color, so we have to do the same calculation to each flavor of color. So we're going to do it to these little dots on his head now. Later on, we might make them glow. I don't know. But right now, let's just treat them as if they're not glowing and that they're being affected by light. We're going to sample them. It's whatever color this is. It doesn't matter. Whatever this color relationship is, if it was something completely different, it wouldn't matter. To each channel, we add the discrete amount of color, or the discrete amount of light in each channel, plus a little extra for blue. Takes whatever color it was and makes it brighter and bluer. In this case, we're just doing a nuck on each channel, and then the same amount again for blue. So when I add it here, it's going to feel like it enters the same color space as the dark fur and the light fur. So let's see. And it does. See the difference? Maybe a little more. That's probably too much. Continuing on, he's got these interesting, slightly browner kind of colorings here on his cheeks. So we'll get those next. Adding discrete small amounts to each channel to get it right. It's feeling more unified in space. And what this is, so this does interesting things. It takes things that are gray, it makes them blue. It takes things that are brown, right? It makes them gray. Interestingly. Did I do that right? Oh, you know what? I'm not even sure I did that right. Hold on, let me try that one more time. No, that was the right color. Well, we'll just do it again. It doesn't even matter. A nuck, plus a nuck. Basically gives us a kind of a purple color. Thus, brown sort of becomes a grayish purple when we add the blue light to it. But the relationship between the grayish purple and it sort of preserves the relationship between all of these colors as when we move through this method. There's still a ghost of its original relationship to each other present in all the relationships as they develop. Sort of hard to explain. Now we'll do the nose. Now the nose is actually interesting because it's a different... the nose has a different texture. It's a different sort of material. Right now we're not worried about that stuff. We're just going to get in there. Select the nose. We have 10 minutes. The nose practically all aligned. Add a nuck to each one. Plus a blue. And you can tell I'm not being precise with like where these nucks are. That's like the... Because the truth is it doesn't matter that much. It just really doesn't. There's a lot of room for forgiveness and error in this process. And that is actually part of the process now. Is the mess ups. Because I don't know. You get weird color variations that they just don't end up causing problems in the end. They could, I suppose, but they just don't. Let's get this little dark part under his snoot. Even that gets some light. It's a very straight gray. Added then some blue. Good. Did I rearrange my desk? Not yet. I need to do all that stuff. Quick save. We need to... Every part of it needs to get colored a little bit. So we're going to get into the... You know what? Let's do the blue of his earrings first. So this will be interesting. So it's blue. It's a blue thing, and we're adding blue light to it. So this is interesting. Like, even as dark as this is, you can see that the earrings are blue, right? Even though it's extremely neutral. That's because of the color relationship between all this stuff is still preserved, even though it was brought down so close to black. So, selected, adding light to each channel, plus a little extra for the blue. It's the same equation. Just because it's blue doesn't mean we change the equation. Same equation. Even for these small objects, I'm going to just hit it with a big ol' hit of the air pencil, because I'm forcing myself not to think about details right now. That's sort of like very important to the process at this moment. Let's do the chain. Okay. Chain. Again, it's like basically entirely gray. Add the smallest discernible amount of... Sorry. See, when I'm adding small amounts of light, the difference between... Because these sliders are so small, and like the program kind of sucks anyway, like it's easy to add like a little bit too much of any of these one little things. The NUC is actually about the smallest increment that I can reliably be consistent in adding. So it's like the Planck length of... anatomical Planck length of scale that I can work with in terms of sliding around, in terms of adding light, let's call it. Obviously, if I made this much bigger, like the whole slider thing, I could probably have more fidelity, but I've experimented with that, and it's hardly worth it, so. Here we go. So adding blue light to that. Adding blue light to that. And I'm adding it straight over the whole flat image. It's not, I'm not doing it underneath the black lines or anything like that. So what if it tints the shadow a little bit blue? Who cares? We're actually going to solve for some of that in probably the next pass as well. All right, we got 5 more minutes. Now there's only a couple more things to do for Wolf-Link here. Let's do his irises. His eyes are blue here, so we're going to add blue light to blue. It should be decently blue. But doesn't that make sense intuitively? If you add blue light to a blue object, you're going to get something pretty blue. There we go. Now, even in the black part of his eye, I'm going to add a tiny bit of blue. Maybe not the same amount as everything else. Let's think about it. Otherwise, what'll happen is it'll essentially be a void, and the pupil of an eye should be dark. It very well must be, but the black part, if it's allowed to stay black, it's a little too much. It just looks creepy. These things are slippery. It's funny. Sliders are slippery. So there, just feels like it gives them a little bit. Yeah, even the eye gets a little bit of it, and it's hard to see, but we even have some white of the eye. We went all the way. We went all the way with the, you know, if we're going to go all the way, let's go all the way and make sure that that's getting colored with light too. Because it does. It reflects that light. So it's part of the process. All right, so now all of Link has a kiss of light to it. Now, it's such a minimal, like we've barely added any brightness to it at all. But that's the base. That's the basis. Feels like we indiscriminately added light everywhere because we did, and that was the sort of point. Is ambient light has to go kind of everywhere, at least in some proportion. We're running out of time now. We only have a minute left, so I'm going to leave it there. But in the next few passes, what happens is we go in there with finer and fine, like we go in there next with, actually next thing we do is we go in with an eraser. This part is kind of cool. If I go in there with a chiseled eraser, well, I finish it today off stream. What I need to do is, for this, I'm going to record the entire process. It doesn't necessarily have to be on stream the entire time for it to be documented in real time. So I can record this off stream and make good progress much faster because I'm not trying to teach anybody, and still do educational updates to it later on stream. But check this out. If we go into the light that we've added, okay, so this is the light we just added. Here's my timer going off. We can erase into that light and create shadow. This isn't adding shadow, right? It's taking away light. Do you see what I'm doing here, Danny? Look how much depth that adds. And it feels like I'm adding shadow, but we're erasing light, right? Not sure if you can even see that. Wild. Yeah, W's in the chat if you see me erasing the light. And understand that that's the only method in this coloring process by which we add shadow, is by erasing light. And the only place we erase it is where it really has no place being. Or where we need it to have that sort of unlit effect. So like deep in his nostrils, we can take away that light. Right? Maybe in some of the crevices under his chin, we get away with it. Or the lowest of the low parts of the body. Or these small chunks of space in between his chains, for instance. Adding so much depth. And I'll go in a second. But I like the way this is looking, so it's satisfying to do this part, so hopefully you can feel satisfied with me getting some of this effect in there. Oh, hey, Talbot. Talbot, you're getting in here at the literally the last minute. I am unfortunately having to get my kids, like literally right now. But I appreciate you popping by. It's good to see you again. I hope the writing is going well. Here I am. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in. Working on this cool Midna piece. The art thing is getting traction. Some of the stuff I've been posting is getting likes. Gets many likes. It's nice to see. Getting some very moderate. Okay, in between his toes here. Look how we can carve out the light from in between the toes. Feels like adding shadow, but we're not. Okay. Alright, gonna have to leave it be like this. But listen, W stream, right? It's goated. Good work for everybody. Alright, so. Getting into here. We're going to say bid everybody adieu. Big Mac side. But here we go into the 50-50. Just looking here at this. I want to say thank you to everybody popping in. I think we invented a new concept today. Art class at the strip club. Listen, I'm gonna make this happen one day. Okay, it's gonna happen. I mean, realistically, if one had enough money, one could make this happen. It's probably not the worst thing a stripper could endure. Is a bunch of artists sort of scribbling furiously. You know, probably cost about the same as a normal art class, actually. All right. I think this is good, and I really appreciate everybody coming by. Some of this might have to continue off stream, but I will record it for posterity's sake, and we'll continue to be educational as we go. All right. Adios, everybody.